So the verse is saying, okay, if I'm a non-agent, says Gaudapada rhetorically, how does it exercise volition? Why, I shall practice virtue, or I will not practice vice. Then it would be the agent. If it makes that decision, I'm going to practice yoga. I'm going to follow the path of Patanjali. I will be virtuous. I will not engage in vice. Samkhya says it's not the Atman making those decisions. But it is not the agent. In this way, the positions are faulty. To this it is to be said. Here, Samkhya says this. Here it is the spirit that is Chaitana, consciousness, and the linga, i.e. the mahat, all terms for buddhi, and many terms of buddhi, intelligence, linga, mahat, they appear as if intelligent. Why? Why do they appear that way? Because of its relation with the spirit, because of they cover the Purusha, and therefore the buddhi appears to be animated. Here's the Purusha. Here's Prakriti. Let's just talk about the psychic body. Make it easy, right? Now, this is inanimate. And this is not an agent. It's just passive consciousness. Two things this verse is talking about. This is unconscious. But because it's pervaded by this, it appears conscious. Look. Here's the lamp. Okay? Here's a lamp. Now, here's a covering. Here. It looks like my sweater is luminous, doesn't it? But it isn't. It's just a dark sweater. But because it's pervaded by luminosity, it appears that my shirt is luminous. So therefore, it appears that the mind is conscious. It appears that the body is conscious, but it isn't. It's achaitana. The consciousness is coming from the Atman and pervading it. That's point number one of this verse. Okay, so read that bit again. Therefore, it's from their association that the linga is the term for the subtle body, but here specifically the buddhi, intelligence, right? When we think, when we're thinking, we really think that's me. We think these thoughts are us because they're so close to us. We might have more of a sense that the body's not us. That's a little bit easier to understand. But the thoughts, they just seem so deeply me, because they're the closest thing to the Atman. Number one. Number two, those thoughts that psychic body has been with the Atman since time immemorial. This body, I just had it for 64 years, and then you'll drop off, I'll get another one. So it's not quite the same. But if you've had the same psychic body surrounding your Atman since anadi, infinite time, obviously, how would you know that there's a difference between them? How would you know there was a difference between them? You'd think, well, if something's always, surely that's what a quality is. What's a quality? Its quality is something that's inherently connected with the substance. We say the quality of the sun is light, because wherever there's a sun, there's always light. We've never seen a sun without light, so we just assume, well, the sun is light. So if something has always been with the Atman, it's natural to assume that intelligence is the Atman. So that's how it works. Just as in life, and he gives an example. A jar, when in contact with coolness, is cold. So you get a jar, a pot, and then if you put it in the freezer, it becomes cold. But why does it become cold? Not because it's cold. It's influenced by something else that permeates it. So that's the example he gives. Right, just just as in our life means in our empirical perception, right? We're talking about some high metaphysical thing, and you try to find some empirical, simple example in life that you can relate to. So it says, okay, let's take an easy example in our life. Okay, a jar, right? You put it in contact with coolness, the jar becomes cold. Why? Not because the jar is cold, because it comes in contact with something external to it that makes it, permeates it. Good example. And when in contact with heat, it's hot. Put it on the stove, it becomes hot. Why? Because it's permeated by something external to itself. That's the point. So also in the linga, the buddhi, the intelligence, the mahats and the rest, the psychic body, is as if it's conscious. Why does it appear to be conscious? Because it's in contact with the spirit. Just like the jar gets in contact with cold, it becomes cold. So the material intelligence, which is not conscious, in contact with the spirit, appears to be conscious. I hope I'm not flogging a dead horse. Okay. Hence, the volition is exercised by and then the reverse. Volition, will, is exercised by the gunas. Free will, choice, decision-making, it's the gunas. Don't you find this problematic? That you, the Atman, are not making any choices? It's this alien entity, this prakritic covering that's making the choices. If you're like me, or if you're a Vedantin, that's not going to sit well with you. You're going to say, no, I must be responsible, not some mind that is an alien. It's just like, that's sort of superimposed itself upon me. All right. Although such language as, now he says, although in common talk, we say such language as a man acts, or a man or a woman acts or goes. Although such language is commonly used in this world, we commonly say, well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. What are you doing? Oh, I'm going for a walk, right? We use this language in the world. He says, but in a deep metaphysical sense, the Purusha is not the agent. How? While the activity really belongs to the attributes, action belongs to the gunas, the indifferent spirit, meaning he's just the seer, just the witness, just the passive provider of consciousness, appears to be the agent. Why? Because he's animating the instruments of agency, the buddhi, the intelligence. The agent is actually the intelligence in Samkhya. The first covering of Atman is buddhi. And buddhi is the intelligence. Everything else are instruments of buddhi. That's why buddhi can make a decision to seek liberation, or bhoga or yoga. It's buddhi, it's viveka. Viveka is buddhi. So then he gives an example. Here, there is in this illustration, as a man who is not a thief, being taken up along with the thieves, is suspected to be a thief. So if you're you're an innocent person, maybe you were in the capital a couple of days ago and you just walk in your dog, and you just walk in, you take your dog out for a bit. Next thing, you get swept up with the crowd and you're in the capital and they arrest you. So, or something like that. Just like as a man who's not a thief, but being taken up along with the thieves is suspected to be a thief. So in the same manner, the gunas are the agent, not the Purusha, but the Purusha is connected with them. So we think the Purusha is the agent. Even though even though not itself an agent, it's taken to be an agent on account of contact with the agents. What are the agents? The intelligence, the mind, the instruments. The agent and the instruments of action. The karmindriyas, the gyanindriyas. These are just the indriyas. They're just the means. But who's the agent that's controlling the show, deciding how to use the instruments, the karmindriyas, the gyanindriyas? Who is the decision maker in Samkhya? Buddhi. Also known as Mahat. Write that down, please.